Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to take a look at a basic toolpath for creating a facing operation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to wireframe and we're going to use the rectangular shapes tool, second one down on the drop down. I'm going to select my center point because I want the origin of this part that I'm going to machine to be right in the center. And I'm just going to rough sketch out the size of the shape, and this particular shape is going to be a 2" by 2" square shape. I'm going to select OK. And I now have a 2 by 2 rectangle on the screen, which represents the aluminum stock that I'm going to use to machine this part. And we're going to keep this short and simple, so we're simply going to face the top of this surface. And facing and machining is a process that takes a cutting tool with a flat surface on the bottom that has cutting edges, and it's going to machine away that surface so that the surface is indeed truly flat. When the material comes to us from a vendor, it's usually extruded or formed in some way, and the surfaces are not necessarily flat. So the CNC machining process will do that. Okay, so we're going to use a milling machine to do this. I'm going to select Machine, Mill, and I'm going to pick my Haas CNC. You can see over here on the left-hand side it's populated with the Haas post-processor. And I'm going to go ahead and set up my stock, just like we looked at in the last video. I'm going to select Stock Setup, Bounding Box. I'm going to select around or rubber band around the geometry. In selection, I'm going to select the OK, and I'm going to plug in my Z dimension for this material, which is going to be 2" as well. Click OK. I now have a phantom line representing the 3D shape. This will allow us to see the Verify tool, or the Verify simulation. And to get to facing, what I suggest doing is using your toolpath manager, and where it says toolpath group, that's where your first toolpath will be. Right click, go to mill toolpath, and then you're going to go to face. You can also use the ribbon bar under 2D. You can see you have face in this location as well. For me, it's a little quicker to do the right-click method, so I usually will right-click, mill toolpath, face. I'm going to chain around this, and it's usually better to chain whenever you're looking from the top view down. I'm going to chain around this using a full chain. This first box is full chain. This second box is a partial chain. There will be times when you need to use a partial chain when you don't want the geometry for your toolpath to go completely around the stock. But for this one we do, so we're going to use full chain. We're going to click with one mouse click. And what you'll notice is that selection went all the way around. We know that because we see the green start arrow and the red finish arrow is hidden underneath this green start arrow. So I'm going to select OK. MasterCAM now asks us for some parameters of the tool, and I'm going to go in and pick an end mill. And since this is 2" wide stock, I'm going to look for a 3/8" end mill. There. And I'm going to hit OK. Okay, I'm going to go back to top view, and you can see the toolpath that's been created. This is a typical one-way facing operation. Now we're going to watch that using the Verify command, Verify simulation. I'll slow that down a little bit. I'll turn my precision all the way up. And you can see our tool moving across this part to cut that face. You'll notice that it doesn't change the color of the face because I have not added a depth. Under parameters, the depth is at 0. So if I actually wanted to machine down into this part, I would put a negative number in here. Okay, I'm going to show you something else. Under the style and cut parameters, it is defaulted to a one-way method, which means that in mill, the cutter is going to only go in one direction on the top of this part. A very popular style is Zigzag. And you can see Zigzag is going to go back and forth. Now you might be wondering, well, why don't we always use Zigzag? Well, when you're cutting the material in a certain direction, it's going to lay the stock to one side and it'll produce a surface finish. So if you use Zigzag, you're going to have a surface finish going one direction, and then when it goes back the other way, that surface finish is going to lay the other direction. It still looks good, but it's different. So sometimes you'll have a particular call out on a print where a manufacturer or a customer wants it to be a certain type of surface, and you may have to use the one-way method. It's all about the call out on the drawing. If there is no call out and it just says that you need maybe 2 to 5 thousandths in flatness, then Zigzag is the way to go. It's a little faster. Stock to leave on floors, we're going to turn that to 0. That's an extra amount of material that you can leave if you need to do a roughing and a finish pass. We're not going to be taking off much material, so we're just going to put that at 0. Select OK. And then we're going to select this little icon called Regenerate All Dirty Operations. When we select that, our toolpath reappears. And we're going to look at that in the top view. And you can see now I have a zigzag toolpath. I'm going to show you one more thing on this. You'll notice that at the end of each pass, it just moves in a straight line and then moves back the other way. That's okay. It's not detrimental. But MasterCAM gives us an option for these transitions at the end of each one of these passes. And that is in the same place. It's in cut parameters. It's called move between cuts. And what I like to use is high-speed loops. Go ahead and show you what that looks like. We're going to regenerate. It just changes that transition into an arc rather than a straight line. And what this does is it makes for a smoother transition as that machine's making this pass. All right, that should do it. Hope this helps.